How do you destroy something that doesn't want to be destroyed? What if Middle-earth's greatest villain wasn't a Dark Lord, but a quiet, golden band with a mind of its own? A villain that whispered to kings, outlived empires, and shaped every war for centuries. It should have ended at Mount Doom. Isildur had the chance to destroy the One Ring, but he didn't. Why? What stopped him? And how did this one failure doom Middle-earth for 2,000 years? In this episode, we uncover the One Ring's secret story, how it twisted the fate of kings like Isildur, corrupted the hearts of ring-bearers such as Gollum and Bilbo, and ensured its survival as Middle-earth's hidden villain. From Bag End's humble gardens, to the towering misty mountains, to the mysterious undying lands beyond the sea, every path tells a tale. Join us as we discover these wondrous lands together. Welcome to Middle-earth Unveiled. Let's review the history of the One Ring thus far. From Mount Doom's fires came the One Ring, an instrument of war that outlasted kingdoms and even Numenor's fall. When Sauron returned in the Second Age, 3429, he wielded it to shroud Middle-earth in darkness, until the final alliance of elves and men challenged his might 5 years later. Though the Númenórean, Elendil the Tall, fell during the siege of Barad-dûr in 3441, his son Isildur severed the One Ring from Sauron's hand. But at the precipice of Mount Doom, where he could have destroyed it, the ring's whispers of power ensnared him. Claiming it as his own, Isildur damned himself and Middle-earth to shadow. But what inner conflict plagued Isildur when he chose not to destroy the ring? And how did this affect Middle-earth's history? At Mount Doom, Isildur held the power to destroy Sauron forever, but the ring whispered to him, promising glory and vengeance. And in that moment, Middle-earth was doomed. Picture this: Isildur, standing at the edge of the fiery chasm, the weight of his father's legacy and the devastation of Númenor bearing down on him. He's not just holding the ring, he's holding the hope of an entire age. Yet the ring's influence works not through audible whispers, but through temptation, a projection of visions and desires. It doesn't demand, it suggests. You've earned this. You've lost so much. This is your reward. Isildur isn't just tempted. He's rationalizing, convincing himself that the ring belongs to him as a rightful heir to the fallen Númenóreans. Tolkien's own words in Unfinished Tales reveal that Isildur wrote about the ring's power, calling it precious and justifying its preservation. But what happens next is tragic. By sparing the ring, Isildur unknowingly seeds centuries of conflict. Gondor and Arna, kingdoms born of his family's courage, splinter and weaken. Sauron's shadow grows again, and war consumes Middle-earth. The ring's malevolence is not just in its magic, but in its ability to exploit human flaws, pride, greed, and the hunger for power. Isildur's fall is not just his own, it's the fall of an entire era. In that moment, when glory and doom balanced on a knife's edge, Isildur made his choice. No, he says. One word, that's all it takes to damn an age. The ring had won, not through force, but through the subtle poison of desire. And so began the Third Age of Middle-earth with a simple, selfish choice. What parallels can we draw between Isildur's choice and Bilbo's journey? Watch closely as we follow the ring's path through time. For centuries, the ring lay hidden, waiting. Then, it found its next victim. Not a king or warrior, but a simple creature named Sméagol. Deep beneath the waters of the Anduin River, the ring waited, patient and dormant. It found its next bearer in Sméagol, the Storish branch of hobbits. The Stors, one of the 3 branches of hobbits, were known for their stocky builds and affinity for rivers. Sméagol's nature was simple and unassuming, but the ring's power was indiscriminate, preying on even the most rustic of folk. He would come to be known as Gollum. But Sméagol wasn't destined to become a hero or a king. His encounter with the ring began with betrayal and blood. The murder of his friend Deagle was the first sign of the ring's power to corrupt instantly and completely. The transformation from Smeagol to Gollum wasn't sudden. It was a slow, creeping decay. Tolkien's writings describe how the ring manipulated Smeagol's deepest desires, twisting his mind and isolating him from all others. It extended his life far beyond its natural span, but at a terrible cost. His physical form withered and his mind fractured into two warring halves. One part, Smeagol, yearned for redemption. The other, Gollum, was utterly enslaved by the ring's will. In The Two Towers, Tolkien reveals that Gollum's obsession with the ring was not only about possession, but about survival. The fragile line between his dual identities hinted at the conflict that all ring-bearers would face in their own ways. He called it his precious, not just out of greed, but because the ring had become his sole purpose, his lifeline. Yet, even in Gollum, there were glimpses of resistance. The ring's power wasn't absolute. It exploited weaknesses, but couldn't completely extinguish the light of Smeagol. The ring's strategy with Gollum was clear: corrupt, consume, and then discard. It isolated him, ensuring that its secrets would remain hidden until the time was right for it to resurface. For centuries, Gollum's obsession kept the ring safe from the eyes of the world. But as with all its bearers, the ring's purpose was never to remain hidden forever. It was biding its time, waiting for a moment of vulnerability to return to power. Now came the simple life of the Shire shield Bilbo from the ring's corruption. The ring waited in the shadows of the misty mountains. What made it surface in such an unlikely place? In the next section, discover how Middle-earth's most unassuming hero begins his fateful journey. For centuries, the ring lay dormant, hidden in the darkness of Gollum's cave. Yet, its power and malice never waned. When fate intervened, the ring found its way into the hands of an entirely different kind of bearer, a bearer whose journey would reshape the future of Middle-earth. When the ring passed to Bilbo Baggins, it faced a new challenge: surviving in the peaceful Shire. But its strategy adapted, using subtle manipulation to ensure it remained hidden. Unlike Gollum, whose torment and obsession defined his relationship with the ring, Bilbo encountered it with innocence and unawareness. As a member of the unassuming hobbit folk, Bilbo's life in the Shire revolved around comfort, routine, and peace. In The Hobbit, Tolkien paints Bilbo as a reluctant adventurer, an unlikely bearer for a relic of such malevolence. Yet, this was precisely why the ring worked differently with Bilbo. Its influence was subtler, almost imperceptible at first. Tolkien's writings suggest that Bilbo's humble nature slowed the ring's corruptive effects, though it still planted seeds of possessiveness and paranoia. By the time Bilbo returned to the Shire, he often found himself grasping for the ring unconsciously, referring to it as "my precious," a faint echo of both Isildur's failure and Gollum's obsession. But unlike his predecessors, Bilbo's inner resilience allowed him to keep his humanity intact, hinting at a strength unique to hobbits. What made Bilbo capable of eventually giving up the ring when so many others couldn't? In exploring Tolkien's The Hobbit, Corey Olsen highlights Bilbo's unique role as an unheroic yet resilient character. His ability to resist the ring's temptations and, later, to relinquish it voluntarily set him apart from its other bearers. This act of giving up the ring, a feat even great kings and warriors could not achieve, hinted at the strength of the hobbits and foreshadowed Frodo's own journey. The Shire, with its serene landscapes and unchanging ways, provided a stark contrast to the ring's quiet malice. But the ring's strategy was patient. It allowed Bilbo to live peacefully for decades, all while deepening its hold and waiting for the next opportunity to return to power. In many ways, Bilbo's story was a reminder that even in the simplest of lives, great burdens and hidden dangers can reside. As we close, I have to ask, what was the One Ring's true nature? Was it merely an artifact, or a living force with a singular purpose across millennia? The books show us the One Ring wasn't just a tool, it was a cunning, malevolent force that ensured its own survival. By exploiting the weaknesses of its bearers, it thrived in the shadows, waiting for the moment to return to Sauron. The One Ring was no ordinary artifact. Forged with a fragment of Sauron's own essence, it was imbued with a form of sentience. Tolkien describes this in The Letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, where he reveals that the ring had an active will, capable of influencing and manipulating its bearers. Its whispers weren't mere fantasy. They were the echoes of Sauron's malice, woven into its very core. Its adaptability was one of its greatest strengths. With Gollum, the ring worked through obsession and isolation. With Bilbo, it crept into his thoughts subtly, planting seeds of possessiveness while allowing him decades of peaceful life in the Shire. And with Frodo, it exploited his compassion and sense of duty, turning his strengths into vulnerabilities. Each bearer encountered a ring that seemed perfectly tailored to their nature, a testament to its cunning. But its ultimate goal was always the same: to reunite with its master. In Unfinished Tales, Tolkien notes that even while lying dormant, the ring was actively seeking to return to Sauron, pulling strings across Middle-earth to set events in motion. This was no passive object. It was an instrument of pure intent, capable of bending the will of the mighty and the meek alike. The ring was also a mirror. It reflected the flaws of its bearers, magnifying their pride, ambition, or fear. Even Frodo, whose resistance was unparalleled, found himself on the brink of succumbing to its allure at Mount Doom. The ring's ultimate secret wasn't its power, but its ability to reveal and exploit the darkest corners of the soul. How does Frodo's journey reveal the true nature of the ring's power? In the final section, we conclude with the legacy of the One Ring and its enduring impact on Middle-earth. The One Ring's story is ultimately about power and its corruptive nature. Tolkien emphasizes how the ring mirrored its bearers, magnifying their weaknesses and exposing their vulnerabilities. Isildur's pride, Gollum's obsession, and Frodo's compassion were all twisted by the ring's insidious influence. Yet, the ring's legacy is not merely one of corruption. It also highlights resilience and the capacity for redemption. Frodo's journey, though marked by near failure, reflects the immense difficulty of resisting ultimate power and the burden of carrying hope for others. In The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien portrays Frodo as a symbol of endurance, even as the scars of his burden remain. The destruction of the ring came at great cost. Frodo's physical and emotional wounds were permanent, echoing Tolkien's recurring theme of the price of heroism. In the Silmarillion, we see how this sacrifice echoes through the ages, reminding us that even the greatest victories demand immense personal loss. The ring also serves as a cautionary tale. Its ability to exploit not only individuals, but entire civilizations, as seen with Numenor and the splintering of Gondor and Arnor, underscores the cyclical nature of temptation. Tolkien's insights into power reflect a deep understanding of its dangers, making the story of the ring timeless and universally relevant. But the One Ring story isn't over. Next, we turn to the architect of Middle-earth's darkness, Sauron himself. Join us as we reveal the acts that led to his rise to power and his plans to dominate Middle-earth forever.